Wanted to bring you some breaking news coming up this afternoon.
Yeah, our sources tell us Tennessee football head coach Butch Jones has been fired. That information is coming from our partners at GoVols 24/7. Reports also say defensive line coach Brady Hoke will be taking over as the interim coach. The Vols are 4-6 this season, 0-6 in the SEC.
Now, Butch failed to meet the expectations of the fan base last season when he missed the SEC championship game, despite having a talented roster that was favored to win the East Division.
Yeah, the disapproval got even louder this season when Jones' Vols lost to Florida on the final play and were blown out by Georgia in the most lopsided home loss since 1905. After Saturday's loss to Missouri, Tennessee currently has a losing streak against every other SEC team. Jones' era ends after 5 seasons in which the Vols posted records of 5-7, 7-6, 9-4, 9-4, and 4-6.
Well, Tennessee is expected to owe Jones a max of $8.2 million in buyout money. According to his contract, Butch is due $2.5 million per year remaining on his contract, plus a prorated portion for any partial years remaining. Currently, his contract runs through February 28th of 2021. That $8.2 million will be divided into monthly payments. The amount of that buyout will be reduced dollar for dollar by the income of Jones' next job. The contract states that Jones must make, quote, reasonable and diligent efforts to find comparable employment.
Now, we want to bring in Luis Fernandez, Luke Slabaugh. Guys, Brady Hoke, the interim coach, a lot of people are going to be wondering, what do we know about him? What can we expect from him for the rest of the season?
He's currently the defensive line coach for the Tennessee Volunteers. The year before that was the defensive coordinator at Oregon, has a career record of 78-70. He also at Ball State, San Diego, and Michigan for 3 years leading up to his time here at Tennessee, working with guys like Jonathan Kongbo, Shai Tuttle, Kyle Phillips, trying to develop Tennessee's run defense. But he has head coaching experience.
He does.
Yes. Lewis?
Yeah, exactly. And when you look at UT coaching in general, this is the 4th coaching change in the past 9 years for the Vols. A lot of volatility there now after so many years of consistency with Johnny Majors and Philip Fulmer. So the next hire for Tennessee will be very important going forward.
So this is kind of a typical thing for UT. We've seen for a long time Kiffin, Dooley, and now Jones. That's been coming for
And
a
here's
long
the
time.
thing. Tennessee was on pace for its maybe worst season yet. It didn't feel like it was a historically bad season because it was so monotonous, that drubbing last night against Missouri, 50-17, that score. But Tennessee right now on a 7-game conference losing streak, 4-6 this season. Tennessee has never lost 8 games in a season, never been winless in conference play. So this move right now kind of makes sense that they're going to try to switch things up.
Well, one thing that we can certainly say is this Jones era featured several huge wins, but just too many heartbreaking losses.
Well, WBIR 10 Sports anchor Patrick Murray takes us back through the highs, the lows of Jones' tenure at Tennessee.
The Butch Jones era started in December 2012.
It's our goal to give everyone the kind of football program that you can be extremely, extremely proud of.
Jones picked up a couple of victories before he even stepped on the field. The first came on signing day 2013, when Josh Dobbs flipped from Arizona State to Tennessee. The second came in the classroom. The Vols were in danger of becoming the first major college football program to be punished for failing to meet the NCAA's academic progress rate standards. Jones's program needed a perfect 1,000 score to avoid penalties which could have included a postseason ban. They got the perfect score and have since continued to set program records academically. In his first season on the field, Jones unveiled new smoky gray uniforms and fell just short of an upset of number 6 Georgia in overtime. The next week, he knocked off Steve Spurrier and number 11 South Carolina. Year 2 brought a long-awaited bowl trip, made possible by a wild comeback overtime win over South Carolina in Dobbs' breakout game.
Every win is special, and in this profession, it's very, very hard to win. We're building something special here, but it takes time. And this was another brick in the process. We're recruiting. If you're a prospective student athlete, why would you not want to be a part of something special here? There's only one place, and it's Tennessee.
Fans first began to question Jones in early 2015 when he opted for a field goal instead of going for it on 4th and goal at the 1-yard line against Oklahoma.
And football is a game of momentum, and you create your own momentum. And, you don't want all or nothing plays at the beginning of the game, and we just felt we needed to get on the board, get some confidence, and get some points.
The Vols blew a 14-point fourth-quarter lead and a double overtime loss to the playoff-bound Sooners. A Butch decision again left Vols fans irate 2 weeks later in the Swamp when Jones chose to kick an extra point to go up by 13 instead of attempting a 2-point conversion for a potential 14-point lead.
We have a chart that's pretty standard in football that, first of all, kind of maps it out, and then we just felt, at that stage of the game, we had great confidence in our defense.
Tennessee again squandered a 2-touchdown fourth-quarter lead in a devastating 28-27 loss to the hated Gators. After a home loss to Arkansas, Jones was in desperate need of a win in the new Nike smoky gray jerseys against Georgia. Tennessee trailed 24-3 in the second quarter, but Dobbs delivered another epic performance in a 38-31 win.
This is a true testament of will, of resiliency and perseverance. Our hard work has been validated a little bit in terms of finally winning a game like this.
Jones's squad recovered from a 3-4 start to win its final 5 games and post the program's best record since 2007 at 8-4. A 45-6 dismantling of 13th-ranked Northwestern in the Outback Bowl set up high expectations for the 2016 season. The Vols were picked to win the SEC East and were ranked in the top 10 for the first time since 2006. Jones led the Vols to a 21-point win in the most attended game in college football history in the battle at Bristol and snapped the 11-game losing streak to Florida with an improbable comeback from a 21-point deficit.
We are building something special here with character and competitiveness.
The next week provided one of the most memorable moments in Tennessee football history.
Dobbs heaves it. They're bunched up in the end zone. It's tipped up. It's caught. It is caught. Jawan Jennings.
I 100% firmly believe we were going to catch the football and we were going to score.
The Jones era had reached its apex. Tennessee was 5-0 and in full control of the SEC East heading into a top 10 battle in College Station. Another crazy comeback, this time from 14 points down with 3 minutes left, wasn't enough to overcome 7 turnovers and a double overtime loss to Texas A&M. Butch's injury-riddled team was easily dispatched by number 1 Alabama the following week, but Tennessee had a bye week to recover and still controlled its own destiny in the East, with the schedule seemingly getting easier down the stretch. 18-year-old Jake Bentley, making his second career start at quarterback, led South Carolina to an upset of the Vols, severely damaging Tennessee's chances of reaching the SEC championship game.
Just very, very disappointed in the way we played, particularly coming off a bye week, and give South Carolina credit, but that was unacceptable.
A day later, one of Jones's prized recruits, Jalen Hurd, left the program, less than 500 yards short of breaking the all-time school rushing record. Florida clinched the East Division title with a win over LSU, and fans grew even angrier when Jones wouldn't say that he'd fallen short of a goal.
And what happens, happens. And again, I'm not going to sit in here and explain we just won 8 games. That hasn't been done here in a very long time. Have an opportunity to win 9. I'm still amazed that when I talk to people and I bring up the success of this program in the last 4 years, it's minimized. And I don't understand how it can be minimized from the graduation to being 14-3. I don't know. I don't get it.
Jones's team traveled across the state to Vanderbilt with a Sugar Bowl berth still within reach. But the Vols' injury-depleted defense surrendered more than 600 yards of offense for the 3rd straight game, and the Commodores rallied from a 10-point deficit as Vol Nation fumed. Tennessee capped the season with Derek Barnett's record-breaking sack and a Music City Bowl victory, giving the program 3 straight bowl wins for the first time since 1997 and the first back-to-back top 25 finishes in almost a decade. But Jones failed to meet the expectation of winning the SEC East, and the pressure was on for 2017. The heat turned up after a loss to Florida on the final play. Many fans were done with Jones after his team suffered the most lopsided defeat in Neyland Stadium history, a 41-0 loss to Georgia.
Patrick Murray reporting there, and since that loss to Georgia, the Vols have dropped 4 more SEC games to South Carolina, Alabama, Kentucky, and of course Missouri, leading to the firing.
Well, on the phone now is Wes Rucker from GoVols 24/7 joining us. Wes, what can you tell us is the latest we know right now?
Well, the latest we know right now is clearly that Butch Jones is out. We're waiting on an official announcement, but that's the word. That's what's going on right now. So I think Tennessee will have its interim head coach in Brady Hoke, and they'll go forward from here the next couple of weeks. But really the big news for Tennessee right now, and I don't mean this as any disrespect to the current players and them trying to get to a bowl game, the focus now for the long-term future of the program is on the replacement. And this is a situation John Curry did not want to be in his first year as Tennessee's athletic director, but you don't always get what you want in life. You know, Mick Jagger was right about that. So this is where they are, and then they're going to have to go find a new football coach for the fourth time in 9 years.
Tennessee, Wes, our eyes are set on the future for Tennessee football. What direction do you think the Vols will go with this next hire?
You know, there's kind of a couple different ways they could go here. I mean, they could go with the sort of big name, proven head coach, or they could go with kind of an up-and-comer that they think will really build a program to last at Tennessee. So, you know, which way they want to go on that, I don't know. I think they're kind of considering candidates from both of those spectrums. I think that there's probably some value in he's got plenty of proven experience as a head coach. I think that's something that would help this Tennessee program right now. Certainly they got to get someone who is either a great recruiter or will hire a staff full of great recruiters because you need talent. But you also need someone who can coach it up and someone, quite frankly, who can handle this market. You know, Tennessee or Knoxville is a large market that only has one thing going on really sports-wise, and that's something that a coach at Tennessee has to be able to handle. They have to be able to live in that fishbowl. They have to be able to stand the criticism, and they have to have a thick skin. And that's something where I think Butch Jones never really was a good fit for this program in that way. They need someone who's sort of mentally tough enough to withstand the sort of the rigors of being in.
So, Wes, what does this mean for the rest of the season now? 2 games left. You know, Tennessee is trying to get eligible for a bowl game, but avoid that disastrous 8-loss season.
Sure. I mean, Tennessee and Ohio State are the only 2 programs in college football history for the Division I level who have never lost 8 games in a season. Tennessee is a charter member of the SEC. It's been there since 1933 and has never had a winless season in the SEC. So there are a couple of important things for Tennessee here to at least want to avoid. You know, that you don't want to be in a situation in the last couple of weeks of the season where the best case scenario is you avoiding being known as the worst team in program history. So that's sort of what they are. It's where they are right now, though. They you know, a lot of times you see an interim head coach comes in and you get a nice bump and the players kind of get some juice, maybe some guys who were in the doghouse or out of the doghouse to get a chance to go play now, and they kind of get their spirits lifted. We've seen it happen before. It's happened to Tennessee and it's happened to other places. And if you're Tennessee right now, you just got to hope that hearing a new voice in the room will help these guys because, you know, you still got to go out there and play 2 football games.
Yeah, Wes, it feels kind of odd that this Missouri game last night is the straw that broke the camel's back. Why do you think John Curry, the athletic director, made the decision now to part ways?
That's a good question. You know, this has been in the works for a while. You know, let's put it this way. We've had our hot board ready to go for more than a month. You know, this was coming at some point. And I think John Curry wanted to do everything he possibly could to delay it until after the season ended. But that last night made that not an option anymore. You know, you have to see a feasible path forward. And I think just going to Missouri and just getting hammered like that, at that point you look at the team and go, this team's kind of hopeless right now. So before that, you know, you could say, hey, they could still kind of rally, maybe win 7 games. You know, Butch could salvage some pride, some dignity going forward. And now you can't do that. Now it's in a position where Tennessee has lost the most recent game it has played against every single team in the Southeastern Conference. That's not good enough at Tennessee. That's not acceptable at Tennessee. And I think they wanted to kind of keep this thing duct taped together to the end of the year, but that's not possible now.
Now, Wes, when we look at Brady Hoke being the interim head coach, what should Tennessee fans know about him and his coaching style and what to expect for these last 2 games?
That's a good question. You know, I would imagine that his coaching style, I mean, he probably won't want to rock the boat because you're not going to completely change an offense and a defense, you know, really in a couple of weeks or in 3 or 4 days, really, before you go play LSU. What I will be interested to see, though, I think Hope will leave the offense kind of as is because he's more of a defensive guy anyway. The real interesting thing to me is how the defense will look because Bob Shoop is the defensive coordinator. Brady Hoke is defensive line coach. I know they have some different philosophies on defense, well, now Brady Hoke is the boss. So will you see Tennessee make some of those adjustments, or will Tennessee kind of keep doing what it's doing on defense? That, to me, will be the most interesting thing the next couple of weeks, because I'm sure Hoke has some ideas in his head of what he wants to do defensively to kind of change some things. So that's kind of where I see things.
All right, Wes. Well, thank you so much. You guys go ahead and get home safe from Missouri. We appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much, Wes.
Let's take a minute now to... Thank you, Wes. Let's take a minute to take a look at where Jones ranks among other UT coaches in terms of winning percentage. Among the former Vol coaches with a minimum of 50 games coached, Butch ranks 7th out of 7 with a .55 winning percentage. Jones and Bill Battle are the only coaches on the list who did not win at least one SEC championship. Jones ranks 14th out of 23 all-time Vols head coaches in terms of winning percentage.
Now, Jones did things that hadn't been done at Tennessee in a while, both good and bad.
Here's a look at Jones' accomplishments and failures with the Vols.
Butch Jones led the Vols to 3 straight bowl wins, the first time that's happened since 1997. He had the Vols ranked in the top 10 for the first time since 2006, and his back-to-back top 25 finishes were the first since 06 and 07. Butch's 2016 team scored 473 points and 63 touchdowns, both marks the most in a single season in Tennessee history. Jones won 11 straight games spanning parts of the 2015 and 16 seasons. That was the second longest active streak in the FBS at the time and the longest for a Tennessee team since the Vols went undefeated in 1998 and won the first game of the 99 season. He also ended the 11-game losing streak to Florida and a 19-game skid against ranked opponents. 4 of Butch's players were selected in the 2017 NFL Draft, the most Vols taken in the first 4 rounds since 2002. Jones oversaw 2 of the 4 largest comeback wins in program history, overcoming 21-point deficits in wins over Georgia in 2015 and Florida in 2016. His teams performed well in the classroom, too, breaking every academic program record, including highest GPA and graduation rate. Jones sent off 84 Vols with degrees, and 67 players earned a 3.0 GPA or higher in the 2016-17 school year. But with all those accomplishments came several failures. The 2015 loss to Oklahoma tied the school record for the largest fourth-quarter lead relinquished in a loss. 2 weeks later, Jones grabbed the number 2 spot on that list by blowing a 13-point fourth-quarter lead at Florida. His team recorded the most lopsided loss in Neyland Stadium history in a 41-0 shutout, which ended the 6th longest scoring streak in college football history. Butch's defense occupies 2 bad spots in the school record book for allowing the most total yards in a single game to Missouri and the most rushing yards in a single game to Georgia Tech. But the Vols won both of those games. Perhaps the one thing that disappointed Vol fans the most, Jones's 2016 team was only the second in program history to beat Florida and Georgia in the same season and fail to reach the SEC championship game.
If you're just now joining us, we're talking about some breaking news that's come out this afternoon from our partners at Go Vols 24/7, saying that head coach of the Tennessee Vols, Butch Jones, has been fired. And, of course, we have our sports team, Luis Fernandez and Luke Slabaugh, here on the desk with us. Guys, I mean, what is running through people's minds right now? What do you think are fans and the team thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough from a fan perspective. I think, you look at Butch Jones, and a lot of people were very upset with his tenure towards the end here. He's a bit of an enigma, really. He took Tennessee back to a level of some respectability with a couple of 9-4 seasons, some bowl wins, but ultimately he never really did, as we were just talking about in this story here, he never took them to that Philip Fulmer, Johnny Majors level that fans so desperately want.
I think in a few years he'll be known as good, but maybe not quite good enough. And I think it's an optics issue, too. 557 winning percentage over more than 50 games coached. Tennessee fans have never seen a guy bounce around 500 that much. Bowden Wyatt is the next on that winning percentage level, and he was up in the 600s. So it's really an optics issue that he was good, but not quite what Tennessee fans expect.
Yeah, I think if Tennessee can make a great hire here coming up, you may view Butch Jones almost as a bridge between this Lane Kiffin, Derek Dooley era, and then going into what they're hoping to be a better era.
So, guys, in the meantime, while we look for candidates, the interim coach is going to be Brady Hoke, and he'll be taking over temporarily. Now, let's tell you a little bit about Hoke. He spent the 2016 season at Oregon as a defensive coordinator and defensive ends coach. He joined UT with 33 years of coaching experience at the collegiate level. That includes 12 seasons as an FBS head coach with Michigan, San Diego State, and Ball State.
Now, Hoke coached 39 NFL draft picks during his time as a head coach, including 24 at Michigan, 10 at San Diego State, and 5 at Ball State. Hoke was named Tennessee's associate head coach and defensive line coach on February 7th of this year.
And Jones is done at Tennessee, and the coaching search has already begun. Earlier, Luke, you broke down a few of these dream candidates, so let's take a look at that.
So when you're looking to replace Coach Jones, you want someone who has coaching experience at a Power 5 school, preferably as a head coach, and preferably a championship pedigree. And my first candidate actually checks all three of these boxes. It's Les Miles, former LSU coach. He won a national championship at LSU in 2007, actually won 69% of his games in the SEC. Very charismatic personality. Fans would really latch onto him and like him. And take a look at his coaching tree. He's coached Mike Gundy, who's now at Oklahoma State, and Jimbo Fisher at Florida State. My biggest question with this candidate is interest. Miles is 63. Don't know what's next for him at this stage in his career, and it's worth asking if John Currie would even want to give him a call. One of the biggest problems with Miles at LSU was clock management. Also, in the later years, playing second fiddle to Alabama, which has been every coach's problem in the SEC, and that would likely follow him. Those concerns would likely follow him to Tennessee. My second name on this list is a name that a lot of Vol fans have already been really hyped about. It's former Oregon Ducks coach Chip Kelly. There's no denying he led the program over in Eugene to its best four-year stretch in program history. Also has experience in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles and San Francisco 49ers. Also, his coaching tree is very impressive. Mark Helfrich succeeded him as head coach at Oregon. His name was actually being tossed around as the next Vols offensive coordinator prior to this season. Also, Scott Frost is in that coaching tree, and he's had great success in Orlando with Central Florida. Notoriously, Kelly has had shortcomings when it comes to recruiting. It's worth asking how much commitment he would have to bringing in talent into East Tennessee. Also, the NCAA gave Kelly a show cause penalty as he was leaving Oregon. He never actually paid the price for that, but the NCAA would be following Tennessee rather closely. My next dream candidate is PJ Fleck from Minnesota. Very charismatic guy, made national headlines when he was at Western Michigan just a season ago. His famous row the boat mantra, a really great story behind that. And it's actually kind of fun to imagine how the Vol Navy would adapt that slogan and kind of bring that into Tennessee's culture. He's a rising star in the coaching ranks. He's only 36 years old, led Western Michigan to a 13-0 regular season record last year. In terms of his first year at Minnesota, it's been kind of up and down. It remains to be seen whether or not he could have success in the SEC or if the administration would even want to take a chance on someone like him. And depending on how Minnesota finishes the season, his name may or may not be involved in the coaching carousel. He would have to leave Minneapolis after 1 year. And that's not unheard of, and he certainly knows a good job opportunity when it comes up. He was actually Northern Illinois' offensive coordinator for 12 days, and then he left to coach with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A good career move for him. So if the opportunity arises, he might be interested in coming to Rocky Top. My next name on this list is not an inspiring name. Not a lot of people are excited about this. It's Mississippi State's Dan Mullen. Now, credit Mullen with doing something that none of his predecessors could do in Starkville, and that's compete in a stacked SEC West. But he's done just that. He had them ranked as high as number 1 in 2014, has developed some NFL talent while he's there, and he has brought a winning culture to a team that never really had that to begin with. Mullen's name has come up in coaching searches in the past. Florida has been interested. Penn State was interested before they hired James Franklin. And I just wonder how set he is on staying in Starkville or if he wants to take on a new challenge. The ball is certainly in his court. He has all the job security in the world. He signed through 2021. And speaking of Florida, they may be close to hiring a new head coach as well. So Mullen might jump at that opportunity rather than go to a place where he has no ties. And last, and certainly not least, is USC offensive coordinator T. Martin. I know a lot of Vol fans have dreamed about this. It's a great narrative. One of Rocky Top's favorite sons wins a national championship in 1998, goes out to coach at a different school, and then 20 years later is called back to bring his school to his former glory, brings in all the old gang, and they do it again. I don't know how likely that situation is, but it's a good story. Martin has established himself as an offensive coordinator at an elite school. He's developed a Heisman-level quarterback in Sam Darnold for the Trojans. But with a first-time head coaching hire, there comes a lot of risk, and I wonder if John Currie would want to give this position to a first-time head coach. You also have to ask how tied T. Martin and his family are to the Los Angeles area. He's turned down assistant coaching gigs at Tennessee in the past. Something would have to be different this time to entice him to come home. So those are 5 candidates that Vol fans can dream on. Of course, the coaching search just ongoing. Not a whole lot of details right now, but we'll keep you informed right here and on WBIR.com.
Well, definitely a big decision ahead.
And we do have Jeff Hall, former Tennessee kicker, on the phone. Jeff, how are you? What do we know?
Well, guys, I know kind of what you all know. I just got the news on my phone a few minutes ago, and I've just been following the updates and the details. And so I don't really have any inside scoop for you other than it's just another tumultuous day in Tennessee athletics.
How do you feel about this move, and when did he sort of fall out of favor with VFLs like yourself?
I don't know if he ever fell out of favor for guys like us. I think I can still remember sitting in the team room with a lot of my teammates and other guys that had played years ago when he first stepped on campus. And, a lot of us walked out of that room feeling really encouraged and confident about the direction the program was going. And we were behind Butch and really liked what he was doing. And of course, he changed the culture, he changed the program, he changed the perception about Tennessee football. But I think, unfortunately, and everybody wants to ascribe it to one reason or another, but there's so many factors that have probably played into the lack of success that everybody wishes the football program would have, that it just really hasn't panned out. And I think it is unfortunate. As a former player, it hurts me to watch the program continue to go through this chaotic type of situation where you hire a coach and then a few years later you have to fire the coach and then find somebody else, and this whole rinse repeat thing. I'm afraid until we get Tennessee people making decisions that are in the best interest of Tennessee football, that this is probably what we're going to continue to see for the next few years until that change happens.
Jeff, we got to cut you for time. Thank you so much for that critical insight from a VFL.
We will have much more information about Butch Jones and what's next for the Vols coming up tonight on 10 News at 6.
Yeah, you can also head to WBIR.com. There we're going to have information about Butch Jones' time as head coach and the latest updates. We're also sending people onto campus. They're gathering information from us, getting some fan reaction. We imagine it is going to be certainly a day full of reactions.
Definitely something we'll be following the coming hours.
Reports that a press conference at 5 p.m. we will have coverage of Butch Jones' termination.
Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're going to keep you updated on this at 6 tonight on WBIR.com. Can't thank you enough for joining us, and we'll keep you updated.